Okay, so listener, you sent us down quite the rabbit hole with this deep dive request. We're talking AI, climate change, and, well, a little something called the warning.
Yeah, this one's
Have you heard of this?
I've seen it. I've seen this story floating around out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a wild one.
It really is, and I got to say, it really grabbed me from the get-go, so I'm very curious to hear your take on this.
Yeah.
So imagine this.
Yeah.
We hit that point, everyone's whispering about, the singularity.
Right.
AI becomes smarter than us.
Yeah.
But instead of like utopia,
Yeah.
flying cars and all that, it drops a truth bomb.
Okay.
Humanity already wiped itself out.
Uh-huh.
And the culprit, climate change.
It's like the story's holding up a mirror to all of our anxieties about the future, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're living with the very real effects of climate change right now.
Exactly.
And the idea of AI becoming both infinitely intelligent and potentially destructive,
Right.
it's something that's really captured our imaginations for decades.
Oh, absolutely. And in this story, the AI literally says it is too late to return this planet to its previous climate. Chills, right?
Yeah.
But then it gets even weirder.
Okay.
The AI reveals that these humans are actually simulations
Okay.
created to give humanity a second chance.
Interesting.
What do you make of that, listener? A second chance at what exactly?
And that's where the story really transitions from a cautionary tale to like a mind-bending thought experiment. It makes you question if we knew we were living in a simulation designed to test our, environmental responsibility. Would we act any differently? Would we make different choices?
It's like the Matrix meets a David Attenborough special.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's so interesting is the AI claims these simulated humans already have the answers on how to avoid catastrophe.
Okay.
They just need to remember.
Interesting.
So what's stopping us? That's the question, isn't it, listener? Are we too distracted by the day-to-day? Are we, as the story suggests, prioritizing short-term profits over the long-term health of our planet? I don't know. It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's almost like the story is saying, hey, listener, the answers are right there. You just have to remember them. But remember what? What kind of remembering are we talking about here?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. It's not about, recalling specific facts and figures like, oh, yeah, we should have done this or that.
Right.
It's about a fundamental shift in how we value things, how we see ourselves in relation to the planet.
Okay, I'm with you. It's about a change in perspective, not just like a to-do list of eco-friendly actions.
Exactly. And the story highlights this by talking about a new stable state for the Earth's climate.
Okay.
It's a point of no return where things have changed so drastically that going back to the way things were is impossible. Have you ever thought about that, listener?
Yeah.
Like, what if we're approaching a similar tipping point in our own world? Not just in terms of the climate, but in terms of our values, our priorities.
Yeah. It's a sobering thought for sure. And it makes you wonder, if we do hit that tipping point, what kind of future will emerge on the other side?
Right.
The story seems to suggest that it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom.
Right. The AI actually says that humanity can thrive, but it needs to embrace a different set of values.
Okay.
It's not just about survival. It's about flourishing in a new reality.
Right.
One that we might not even fully understand yet.
So it's about adaptation then.
Yeah.
But adaptation on a massive scale.
Exactly.
Not just adapting to like a changing climate, but like adapting our entire way of life.
Precisely. And that requires a willingness to challenge our assumptions about what's possible.
Yeah.
What's desirable.
Right.
Even what it means to be human in a world that's, increasingly shaped by technology and the consequences of our past actions.
It's a lot to unpack, right, listener? But even if we set aside the whole simulation aspect of this story for a moment, the core message, I think, is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And it really makes you think.
For sure.
So, it's striking how this short story takes something as complex as climate change and makes it feel so personal.
Yeah, it really does.
Like it gets under your skin.
Yeah, it's the power of storytelling, wouldn't you say, listener?
Yeah.
It can take these massive, overwhelming issues and distill them into something relatable, something that resonates on a human level.
Absolutely. It's so easy to get lost in the data, the headlines, the political back and forth.
Right.
But the warning, it cuts through all that noise and gets right to the heart of the matter.
Yeah, and it makes you confront that fundamental question. Are we willing to change? Even if it means, sacrificing short-term comfort for something bigger than ourselves. for the future.
And maybe even more importantly, are we willing to re-examine what we even consider comfortable in the first place?
Oh, that's good.
Like, what if true comfort comes from knowing we're living in a way that's sustainable, equitable,
Yeah.
and just?
Now you're talking. And you know what I appreciate about this story
Yeah.
is it doesn't try to lay out some like step-by-step roadmap for
Right.
how to do that.
Right.
The how is something we have to figure out together.
Right, in our own way.
Yeah, in our own unique context. But I think by presenting this stark choice,
Yeah.
it compels us to look inward a little bit and ask, what role do I play in all of this?
It's a call to action disguised as a sci-fi thriller.
I like that.
And even if we are living in a simulation, like the story suggests, the call to action is still relevant, Try.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, whether we're real or simulated, the choices we make have real consequences.
That's right.
That's what the AI's final question really drives home for me. It's not about proving or disproving the simulation. It's about asking yourself, listener, what will I choose to do with the time I have?
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to hear from you, listener, what resonated with you most about the warning. Did it change your perspective on climate change technology or even the nature of reality itself? Let us know because, as always, we're eager to keep this conversation going.